So you have to work systemically in schools and networks of schools. On the other hand, because teachers filter things through very private ways, what we've built into this system is an Amazon eBay feature. So teachers, by the way, we took this from Teach for America, that has an online support system for teachers that would knock your boots off. Actually, as strong as the thing I showed you, right? Talon, getting better and better every year. Teachers rate the advice we give them. Everyone wants to give teachers advice. No one wants to tell them with what level of surety they should take it, right? So teachers vote, and just like Amazon and eBay, they can figure out which advice teachers like them liked. And they have their favorite sources of good ideas, good tools, and so on. So you have to work broad. The business about faculty incentives, I think that's mythology. Most of the deans that I know would die for faculty who want to work on these questions and reward them quite generously, depending on the institutional mission. Faculty create obstacles to this in their own heads based on 20 or 30 years ago. Remember, universities are old institutions, right? We move on geologic timescales. And that also has to do with attitudes about what institutions really need. Deans, presidents, provosts are constantly and need to be constantly focused on their institutional mission. And one of their challenges is finding faculty appropriately senior and preferably without strong ideas in the beginning who actually want to work on hard social problems. So the people that, the network of faculty at UT working on this gets great affection and support from Dean Rankin and from our provost. Otherwise, it would be impossible to do this work. Okay. But I asked the provosts and the deans of your institutions, and they'll tell you, yes.
Okay, here. Right here. Question in the, next to Jim Gates.
One of my former students.
Hi, Uri. Is it on?
It's just a cruel joke,
there we
David.
Go. Oh, yeah. So a lot of your, the bad slide you put up earlier that showed all of the countries and the scores on the TIMS. The top scoring country is Singapore, but Singapore looks to us. Singapore is not happy with its current system.
Right.
Because it's missing innovation and it's missing. So
right.
It's coming to look at us to see what we're
right.
succeeding at that they're not. I guess my question is, do you see a risk of our making systematic commitments to the wrong measures? The way these measures of success are formed are not as rigorous as the way we measure things in other disciplines. What do you see as the risk?
Right. I think it's a big risk. I think the next issue, so we talk about standards, raising expectations, and we have to be very careful to make standards that matter for the broad citizenry. Standards and assessments get their force from accountability systems. And right now, we're at a strange place where almost all the accountability has been to the federal government and to the state. That's a historical anomaly. Some of the other chiefs, policy leaders now, are asking the question in the next set of accountability requirements, to whom should schools be accountable? If schools are also accountable to communities, if schools are accountable to children, that's going to affect the kind of assessments that are going to have validity. We're ready to have a hard discussion. I know Nancy's thinking about this. Is in the next cycle, to whom should schools be accountable? In some places we work, actually in some states like Wyoming, which have built these ideas into their accountability system of local accountability, kids make formal presentations at the end of the year to their communities. That means the assessments they work on have to speak to children and their parents. So we have to get this right as a country. And we have to broaden the number of stakeholders to whom our schools are accountable and the measures that matter to them. Another problem that I know is on your mind is that now we're requiring 4 years of mathematics for everyone in many places. What mathematics should it be? Most schools are only tooled up to teach the narrow path to engineering. Extremely important path, right? But not the only one that really matters. Most students need statistics, right? Many more students need to know about data than about analysis. So we have to do major construction engineering to make sure that our schools have the capacity to teach a curriculum that actually makes sense for a highly educated, intelligent public. That's going to take real surgery. Just a last note on this. Sure. If you want to speak to teachers and to your students, they don't care about competitiveness. Our students do not care about beating the Singaporeans or the Japanese. What our students, all policymakers are addicted to the language of competitiveness, which is important. But students are driven to even a stronger use of science, which is sustainability. This is Earth Day, guys. My students want to build a world that works for them and doesn't impinge on the needs of future generations. They want to build a healthier planet, healthier economies, and healthier communities. How could we ever do that without science and engineering? We need to reposition the STEM work from competitiveness alone to competitiveness, sustainability, and upward mobility of individuals. And that will start getting at what the measures and outcomes of our educational system really should be.
Dan, there's the microphone here. Push it up.
We'd say use your teacher voice for the...
By the way, that's a great talk. It was very inspirational and very informative in a broad sense. I think you brought a scale to this problem that I've not heard. But there's just one point of confusion for me in what you said. I'm sure it's entirely mine. But you made a very strong statement, which surprised me, but I believe it to be true because you said so. And that is that teacher knowledge was virtually meaningless in terms of student performance. And I very much appreciate your focus on the student performance as the measure we're looking for here.
Yeah.
A lot of other stuff. And so then I reflect on You Teach, for example, which is getting content knowledge people in and staying in the classroom, or Teach for America and the numbers of students that you talked about, 10% from Dartmouth and so forth, that are interested to go into teaching. And is our effort here even misplaced in terms of student performance? Or is it the continuation of teachers in the classroom that we're trying to get out of these programs like You Teach?
Right. So there are many necessary but not sufficient conditions for improving system performance. One of the things that Teach for America, New Teaching Project, and You Teach all discovered independently was do not send individual teachers into schools, but send teams of teachers into schools. Teach for America now is growing up. It's 25 years old. It's entering middle age. Very hard for the founders of Teach for America, by the way. Right? Welcome to our world. That's right. Aging is about loss, but I don't go there. I don't give them Philip Roth novels yet. What we've learned about You Teach students is that when we send them into schools in teams and we teach them how to seek out existing teacher leaders, to be a force for coherence in the school, to go in with respect, their students' performance goes up because they're in a healthier school environment. We're not, the military has learned this in unit cohesion, right? Schools are very living communities, and we need to work with them as such. So you need to know the content you're teaching. You can't teach stuff you don't understand. It's just a necessary but not sufficient condition. We also have to work with schools to create the conditions that allow teachers to use their hard-earned knowledge on behalf of their students.